بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Today we come to the second volume of دروس في علم الأصول. This book has 4 volumes. And we just finished the first volume and we are going into the second one. But after the second one, we are not going to go into the third one. We're going to shift to another book, inshallah. I consulted many scholars in Qom recently, and they said it's better that you go to other books. They are more of benefit, and especially we live as a minority. And there are other books that discusses the usul in other traditions too, in other Sunni traditions. So we will benefit from that, inshallah. In the second book, the very first lesson, and you're going to come across same lesson, but on a higher, more sophisticated level. More in-depth level. This is the tradition of teaching in Qom and Najaf, that you in the first year, second year, you study a book, then you go to the third and fourth year, you study another book, but on a higher level, more in-depth. This is how they evolve slowly. So they study the basics and the preliminary levels, and once they move to higher levels, they go back to them, but with more in-depth study and research. So now we come to the first lesson in the principles of Islamic jurisprudence. This is book number 2. And we come to the definition. We go back because we need to know why we are studying this, why we are spending so much time on studying the principles of jurisprudence, not just jurisprudence, the principles of jurisprudence. So we come to the definition of the science of usul, which is the science of jurisprudence. Okay. When we studied this in the past, we came across something important. What did we say about it? Do you remember? What do you have in mind? What do we study in this science? What do we focus on?
Common elements.
Exactly. Remember this. Common elements. Al-anasir al-mushtaraka. We study the common elements. What are the common elements? Al-anasir al-mushtaraka. That we use them, the jurist uses them in the procedure of derivation. In the procedure of the derivation. That because he needs العلم بالعناصر المشتركة في عملية استنباط الحكم الشرعي. In the procedure of derivation of what? Of the hukm, of the ruling. When he gets the verdict out, when he extract the verdict from where, my friends? Let's refresh our memory. Go back a little bit and refresh our memory. We extract the verdict, the ruling, the hukm, from where?
Text.
Exactly.
From what?
From the cardinal sources. Al-anasir al-asasiyya. What are the cardinal sources of legislation?
Quran.
Exactly. Quran and Hadith. So we need to get them. The ruling are there, but you need the one who goes there and pulls it out. And he says, I got it. This is the answer. This process is not easy. This process needs an expert who spends time studying usul, studying fiqh, studying the Holy Quran, ulum al-Hadith, The combination of these subjects, when you put them together, it makes someone who's faqih. It could take him, if he's really smart, hardworking, he does not waste his time, 15 years is enough for him to be faqih. 15 years with full-time dedication. Full-time dedication. Within 15 years, he can become faqih, able to extract the rulings. So he has to have the ability of distinguishing the common elements and utilizing them. The science of utilizing these common elements, finding them and using them in this procedure or in this process, if you will, the process of derivation. Now, an example giving to us, Sayyid al-Sadr, he said there is a definition. He doesn't quite agree with it, but he wants to present it to us first, and then he will critique this definition. He says, usually when you open books and search for the definition, okay, the definition tells you, al-ilm bil-qawa'id al-mumahhada, the knowledge of the facilitating rules, the rules that prepare you, the rules that are going to prepare you and arrange, these rules that arrange for the process of derivation. There are certain rules. So ilm al-usul is concerned with these rules, the rules that play the role of facilitator. العلم بالقواعد الممهدة لاستنباط الحكم الشرعي.
So you say you mean the facilitating of the derivation?
Exactly, the facilitation of the derivation. So there are rules. These are rules, قواعد. These are axioms and rules and steps and regulations that we need to know them. We have to be acquainted with them and study them. Now he gives an example. He says, for instance, how do we know that when someone greets you, he says, Assalamu alaikum, you must answer his or her salam. Where is this?
In the Quran.
It's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. The Quran in Surah An-Nisa, verse 86. Chapter 4, verse 86. Okay? وَإِذَا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ, once you are greeted, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Ali. Once you are greeted with the greetings, وَإِذَا, once you are greeted with a greeting, تحية, Assalamu alaikum, فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنِ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا, then answer with a better answer, pay back with a better answer, or at least, if you are not in a good mood, at least say the same. Say, wa alaykum as-salam. But we are encouraged, the Quran says, not just to say wa alaykum as-salam. Wa alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Okay? Now, how do we know it's wajib? It's in the Quran. But how do you know in the Quran it's wajib? Can you explain that to me?
In the form of a command?
Exactly. The first thing we come across, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا. فَحَيُّوا. حَيُّ means حَيُّ. حَيُّ. Greet. Is this a greet? No.
EET.
A-E-T. Just T or T-E?
No, yeah,
No E.
No, E at the end. Yeah. Greet. So greet. فَحَيُّ. Tahiyya. Hayyu comes from the singular is hayyi. Hayyi.
2 years?
Yes, 2 year. But the plural is hayyu. Waw, alif. It has waw and alif. Okay? Yes, in the command. So in the command, we go back to many lessons before. We have a law. This is one of the common elements. See? What are the common elements? This is one of them. I'm just mentioning one of them now, just to refresh our memory.
Are you referring to the Quran as a common element? One of the common
No. Quran is a source. No. See, Arish, you have to distinguish. Quran and Hadith, they are the sources where we get the law from them. They are the source. They are the source. But the common elements are like tools that you use. We gave the example of the doctor, the surgeon, using tools. The mechanic using tools. These are tools. When we say common elements, tools. Some of these tools are used in just this surgery. You cannot use it in another surgery. Other tools, you can use them in every surgery. Okay? This is why we call them common. Because there are elements that are used only in one surgery. So we don't call them common. We call it what? Specific. What is the difference between fiqh and usul, my friends? What's the difference between fiqh and usul?
Fiqh is the output of usul,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It looks at the specific.
Exactly. In fiqh, we use specific elements, meaning I have specific ayah, that addresses specific issue, or a specific hadith narration that does address a specific issue. Let's say the hadith says, do not, while you are in the state of ihram, going to Hajj, to Umrah, to Mecca, do not submerge yourself in water. Do not. لا ترتمس. This is just for the ihram. He's not telling me about something else. So I'm using this hadith only once. Once. I don't want to mention that it's not appropriate, but just to make it easier for us. Some hadith are disposable. You use it only once. Only for this case. You can't use it for another case. Are you with me? So that is a specific elements. We study them in fiqh. While the common elements, where we study them? Usul al-fiqh. Are you with me, my friends? I say that again. In the fiqh, we study specific elements. We use them. We utilize them. Specifically for this case, but not other cases. Because the hadith says, for instance, the Quran says, ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. This is an ayah. In the Quran, we have about, not exactly, about 500 ayah. 500 ayah that speaks about jurisprudence. Jurisprudence, fiqh. It has fiqhi or shar'i ruling, about 500. Some people put it even lower. They say 300. If you combine some of them together, the number drops to 300. But how many hukum we have in general? If you open an encyclopedia of fiqh, how many you find?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands, okay? So it's not all of them mentioned in the Quran. So sometimes the Quran addresses only one issue. You cannot use this ayah for something else. You can't use it. The ayah speaks about when do you break your iftar. You can't use it in wudu. You can't use it in hajj. You can't use it in zakat. You cannot use it in jihad. You cannot use it in purchasing, in business dealings and transactions. Only one. Only in this specific. So in fiqh we study specific elements, not common elements. While in usul, no, you have tools that you can use them in every mas'ala. One of them is what? Can you give me an example of these tools? We studied that before. We use it almost in every mas'ala. This is the main tool. Like this.
Opinion, stuff like that.
Exactly. What do we call it? let me remove this. It's called حجية الظهور العرفي. حجية, I'll explain it to you. حجية الظهور العرفي. حجية الظهور العرفي, it means the credibility or validity, if you will. Either validity or credibility. حجية means either validity or credibility of what? Credibility of... No, don't look at your papers. Just look at me. It's easy. عرف, public opinion. General opinion. Average opinion. Whatever you want to call it. Okay? What does, when I say this sentence or when I write it, it's a text or a spoken, what does average people understand? What they understand, religion puts value. Okay? Religion says, I depend on public. I depend on people's understanding. Because deen is for public, not for others, Not for angels or for jinn or for us. So God wants to make our job easy. So He does not speak a language and He says, no, this is not what you understand. No, you are all wrong. He would not say that. He brings the laws for us to understand it. So it is the credibility or legitimacy or validity of dhuhur. The dhuhur is what? The apparent meaning. Dhuhur means the apparent meaning. Apparent meaning of what? Urf. Urf is public. General public. Okay? Or public usage. How does public use this term? Where do they use it? How they understand it? How they relate to it? Public usage. Okay? Urf use ma for this. When you say ma, this is ma. Not something solid. No, this is ma. So you cannot say, no, I meant something else. No, you have to accept public usage plays a major role in Sharia. This is one of the common elements. Okay? This is why sometimes we have differences between madahib based on public usage. We say, but the public, this is what the public understands. You cannot bring another hidden meaning. The meaning has to be apparent. Unless stated otherwise. By what? Unless I don't mean the apparent meaning. I mean the second or the third or the fourth meaning. But I have to indicate, yes? I have to indicate. For instance, asad in Arabic, asad, lion, sheer, okay, is used for what? For an animal in the zoo, in the jungle, in the woods. But when I use it, I say Aliyun Asad. Then this is an indication. Ali is the name of a man. Then what do I mean by Asad here? Do I mean he's the lion? What do I mean by it?
Metaphor, you said.
Metaphor, ahsant. So this is metaphor because I brought another name. Otherwise, if I leave it Asad, I saw Asad today. I come and I tell you, hey guys, listen, I saw Asad. Where does your brain goes? Exactly. Spontaneously it goes to the lion. Unless I said, I saw Asad carrying his shamshir, his sword, and he was running after people, Then when I said, as soon as I said carrying his sword, this is a metaphor. I gave an indication that no, what I saw was not lion, was a brave man. Okay? So religion puts an importance on the understanding of the public and give it credibility. So an example in the Quran where we have disagreement between the madhahib. When it comes to the ayah of wudu, performing wudu, the Quran says, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ. وَامْسَحُوا. But we have some madhahib who wash. They do not wipe. We say the Quran said, وَامْسَحُوا. Imsah. Imsah, wiping. بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, part of your, not the entire head. Ba. بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Ba. See, when this ba comes in the beginning, it means some. Not all. بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. Okay, بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ. And then وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ, and your feet. So wiping. We say this is the apparent meaning. The apparent meaning, people understand, mash is different than washing. Mash, it means to wipe. So we have two evidences to support this wiping. One, the Quran itself, the language, the apparent meaning of the language, the apparent meaning, ظهور العرفي. This is number one. What is number two? Exactly. Sunnah of the Prophet did this, so we support that with the hadith. So this is one of the common elements, حجية الظهور العرفي. What is the other element? So validity. Did you write validity here? Huh? Credibility, validity of the apparent meaning. Apparent meaning that is determined by what? Exactly, by public or normal usage. This is normal usage. This is the typical usage of the word. The typical. Now, if the shari', the lawgiver, he wants to give me another meaning, he has to indicate. His job is to indicate. Otherwise, I'll go to the first meaning, the apparent meaning. But if he wants to say, no, I didn't mean then I tell him, bring me an evidence. Let me know this is metaphor. It's like wali. Wali also, we have another word in the Quran that we have disagreements. If you open the many English translation, wali, al-wali, you know, they say in Arabic, they counted the meanings of wali, it came to 20 meanings. 20 different meanings. Hand has several meanings. Okay? One of them is ownership. على اليد ما أخذت حتى تؤدي. وما ملكت أيمانهم. One of them is ownership. ملكت أيمانهم, Quran says. Your hand possesses, meaning ownership. Okay? One of them is power. Power, authority. In his hand. The government is in his hand. It means in his control. Yadullah, the hand of God. Yadullah فوق أيديهم. Now, some of the Sunnis, they say, wait a minute. You say apparent meaning, we believe God has a hand. There's a Asha'ira, you know, Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, who opposes the Mu'tazilite. Asha'ira, they say that Asha'ira are the followers of Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. They versus al-Mu'tazilite. Now, this is philosophical subject, but they say when we read in the Quran Yadullah, okay, or Wajhullah, his face, then we go to the apparent meaning. We don't translate it. So how do we answer them in this case? They are right, aren't they? Mm-hmm. But they are not right. There is an answer. Of course. Yeah, we tell them, look at the Quran. Quran يفسر بعضه بعضا. Look at another chapter. Allah says, ليس كمثله شيء. I am unlike anything else. I do not have physical hand or physical face or physical eyes. Or قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. He does not have anything equal to him or similar to him. So we translate that. So we tell them then Allah does not mean the apparent meaning here. This is a metaphor. Because when you read it within the context, you realize it's a metaphor. You realize that God says, Yadullah fawqa aydihim, not his physical hand above their hands, his power and majesty above their power. See, this is the difference. We bring an evidence. But suppose if was not in the Quran, there wasn't something like وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ or لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ in Surah Ash-Shura, then we have to agree with them. We have to agree with them. But because we have in the Quran and the Hadith, both. And before the Quran and the Hadith, what, my friends? Aql. Aql says if God is physical, then every material and every physical has to occupy what?
Time and space.
Time and space. So if you put God in this room, it's impossible to put him somewhere else. This is our, divergence with Christianity. When we speak to them, we say, Jesus cannot be the Son of God or God himself, cannot be the Lord Jesus. Because if you say he's Lord, he has been incarnated in the shape of a human being, then you are going to compromise him and limit him to a time and a space. And once God, the first second, he becomes compromised and he becomes limited rather than unlimited, then he ceases to be God. Khalas. He cannot be God. So wali also has different meanings. And we have to depend. Sometimes in the Quran, it depends on where it comes. Sometimes it comes in a place that we accept the apparent meaning of it. But sometimes we cannot accept the apparent meaning because it is challenged by another verse. That to prove to us, no, here it's not the apparent meaning. It depends on the context. Contextual understanding of the Quran is very important. You understand the meaning of a word when you put it in a sentence. It gives you the rightful meaning of that word. So this is one of the common elements. What is the second one, my friends? Don't look at your papers, just out of your...
Trustworthy? Trustworthy? Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the trustworthy?
The person that's
Like
bringing the...
حجية خبر الثقة, the credibility or validity. حجية.
What's the meaning of the word hujjiyah?
حجية means validity. I give value to it. I give value. I accept this. I give credibility to it.
No,
I give
just the word itself means
حجة, حجة or حجية. Which one?
the root. I mean, what's the root of this word?
حجة. It means the root is حجة. See, حجة. حجة. حجة means this is a proof on you. This is an evidence that you cannot. I am showing you evidence that you cannot run away from it. It grabs you.
Authority.
Clear
Exactly. Clear proof. Clear proof, not just a proof that has implication, that you cannot run away from it. Are you with me?
binding on you.
Exactly.
Clear proof. Binding, clear
Because
proof.
sometimes it's only evidence. But this is binding evidence. Binding evidence. Hujjiyah is credibility that Sharia says, I give worth and value and credibility to it. Hujjiyat khabar. Hujjiyatu khabar al-thiqa. Why does it give it validity and credibility and worth and value to it? Because the thiqa, although he's thiqa, he's trustworthy. But does that mean trustworthy they don't do mistakes?
No.
Trustworthy, he's honest, he's pure, but sometimes he doesn't read good. He doesn't speak good. He doesn't listen good. Sometimes he's not paying full attention. Just like your number, when we wrote it and I left him messages, and now he told me, no, Sayyid, this is 0, not 5. Okay? So we make mistakes while we are copying the number and we call someone else thinking that we are calling Haj Nadim. So we do mistakes. Even though he's thiqah, trustworthy. Sometimes he comes inside and he says, listen, the news is here and there. But he, rather than saying, for instance, Tustin, he says Irvine. Turns to be in another city, okay? Or let's say Sydney, he says Sydney. We think Sydney in Australia, but there is another Sydney here. By the way, there is another Qom in America. Do you know that? When I check the weather of Qom,
There's a Medina.
it gives me two names. Huh?
I know there is Lebanon.
Lebanon, plenty,
Yeah.
plenty. Damascus, Lebanon, plenty. I think more than 20 cities, Lebanon. Somewhere in the northeast.
There's a
Qom.
Medina, there's a Mecca.
Yeah, Mecca we have in California. So it gives credibility, because if not, then we cannot believe any person. Any person. And if we can't believe any person, then our life, we can't do anything. We will be in big trouble. So Shari', the lawgiver, says, I give credit. Don't question him every time. Assume that he's saying right. Although there is a possibility he's mistaking. He's doing mistake, error. Not a deliberate mistake, but by error. Okay? But we give credibility to his khabar. So when he brings khabar from the Prophet or khabar from the Imam, we take it. We say khalas. We assume that he's telling us the exact thing that he heard. Unless what?
Evidence that conflicts.
Goes against your own logic.
Exactly. We studied this, you were not here. Just 2 lessons before. That sometimes it goes against logic, or sometimes it goes against the Quran. It can't be. For instance, someone comes and he says, no, I heard the Imam saying, although he's thiqah, trustworthy, but maybe he has dehydration or something. He didn't drink tea that day. He said, the Imam said, continue the fasting until midnight. But the Quran says, until sunset, or layl, a little bit after sunset. So here we realize, no, this is a mistake. He is still trustworthy, but he did not hear well. He could not hear well. Unless we have evidence to prove that. Otherwise, we accept him. So this is considered what? Common elements. Why we call it common elements, my friends? In every process, every procedure. It can be used in every procedure. Now, this ayah, وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُم بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا. Hayyu is, what do we understand from hayyu? It is what? This verb is command.
Present tense.
And usually, what does the apparent meaning of the command is?
Wajib.
Exactly. What does public say? Is it wajib or mustahab? They say no, the first meaning is wajib, unless stated otherwise. So this is number one. So we use one common element. What was this common element in this ayah? Yeah,
Or with the context,
exactly. It was what?
textual.
Textual meaning.
Exactly. Apparent. No, not apparent. Not apparent.
Clear.
It's no. Hujjiyat, I would tell you in Arabic, then ظهور صيغة الأمر في الوجوب. This is another common element, a third one. That when I say do, what do I mean by do? What does public understand? Mandatory, you must do. This is another common element. When I say don't do, what do I mean by that? I'm not kidding with you. I mean it. Unless stated otherwise. So ظهور صيغة الأمر في الوجوب. Public understands that when there is amr commands, then it is wajib. And when there is nahi prohibition, when I say no, la, then this is a prohibition unless stated otherwise. Unless we have an indication this is makruh, not haram, makruh. Are you with me? This is another common element. That when the shara, lawgiver, says hayyu, it's a command. Okay? Unless we can find somewhere else either another ayah or hadith that says, yeah, he said hayyu, but he said it's better. It's mustahab. Unless otherwise. Okay.
Do you mind
Yes.
writing the Arabic for the third one? Zuhur.
صيغة الأمر في الوجوب. Yeah. ظهور صيغة الأمر في الوجوب. And then the opposite to it, ظهور صيغة. What صيغة here, my friend? النهي. Exactly. النهي في what? في الحرمة. أحسنت. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. You are really intelligent. All of you, alhamdulillah. So, the appearance or the acceptance of the commandment order in what? In being mandatory. When someone says do, صيغة الأمر, do, افعل, then what is the first reaction of us, of me, of public? Is that I have to do. Or he says move, I have to move. Sit, I have to sit. Eat. Okay? And ظهور صيغة النهي, when he says don't. Okay? لا. نهي, لا. We understand it as being hurma unless otherwise. Unless otherwise. Then if it is otherwise, then it comes what? It becomes what? What is the less degree than hurma? We studied this many weeks ago. Makruh, makruh. Makruh or karaha. 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 This is hurma, this is karaha. This is wujub, and what is the lesser degree than wujub is what? Istihbab. Istihbab. Yes, Dr. Ali.
Sayyid, so the command with you mentioned hayyu, is that from the Quran?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Surah An-Nisa. I just gave the Surah An-Nisa, the verse 86. فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنِ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا.
So the thing is, okay, I'm trying to understand, the commands, if they come from the Quran, then it becomes part of the Quran or hadith
Yeah.
portion, right? It doesn't have to be, why does it have to be a common element if it's from the Quran?
No. The source is in the Quran. But we use, then someone will argue. He says, okay, it's in the Quran. It's in the Quran. The source, we found it in the Quran. Hayyu. Okay, where is Hayyu? I raised it. Okay. He comes and he says, how do you know? How do you know Hayyu? Okay, Hayyu. فَحَيُّ. It's in fact, then فَحَيُّ. فَحَيُّ. Okay, the ayah says فَحَيُّ. If someone greets you with a greeting, then greet him back in the same fashion or better. Then greet him back. How do I know this then greet him back is wajib? It could be not wajib, mustahab, because we have wajib, mustahab, mubah, makruh, haram. 5 types of commands. Why I'm taking command number 1? I say it's wajib, mandatory.
Because of the way it's the context in which.
Because the common elements, one of the common elements, is that whenever you have a command that says do or don't do. If it says do, then the first reaction or the first option is wajib.
So do or don't do from the Quran or Hadith?
The Quran and the Hadith, both.
From there.
Both, of course, yeah. So how do we know it's wajib? Because the Quran, I'm using a common elements here. How I'm making a ruling out of this. See, this is the process of derivation. See, the science of usul, the science of the common elements. What is usul? Very simple. If someone asks you, definition of science of usul, what is it? The answer, it is the science of the common, knowing the common elements that are used in the procedure or the process of derivation of a Shar'i ruling. And this is one of them. This is one of the common elements. I know because there is a common elements here. The common elements is that when there is a command, you have to take it as mandatory. Unless there is another indication which says, no, this is not the top commands. This is one level below. Although it comes, the same verb, okay? But this is less intense. The less intense, we call it mustahab. This is why we call it common elements, Dr. Ali. Are you with me, Dr. Ali?
Yeah, so the common element there is used to differentiate mustahab from
Exactly.
from the,
One of them. There are several common elements. Yeah, one of many common elements we have.
Okay.
We mentioned now probably three or more. This is one of them.
Right.
To the common elements, one of them, it says always your first reaction to any command is that you must do. Unless you find an indication that says, no, this is not that intense. I'm not that serious. I'd love you to do that. Not I definitely want you to. Like I say to Arish, come to my house. Now, how does Arish know I'm serious or I'm making ta'aruf? Just, by other indications. Sometimes by my habit. If I say to all of you, come to my house every day, every hour, then you know this is not serious. Or some people say, he said, I love you. Then he loves me. Especially girls. Be careful, They always take it as صيغة. They study usul al-fiqh, Yeah. But if this is his habit, he says to all people, I love you. Then you don't take him serious. This is mustahab. This is not wajib. Okay? وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد